If you don't like the road you are walking, start paving another one. Namaskar, welcome to PT Pointers, and in this video we are going to cover major headlines of the Hindu, Indian Express and Press Information Bureau. So without wasting any time, let's start today's discussion. And our first headline is related to Sentence Review Board of Delhi. And ये न्यूज में भी इसलिए है क्योंकि इस बार इसकी मीटिंग सिर्फ एक बार हुई है, बट इसकी जो मैंडेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट है वो 4 मीटिंग्स इन अ ईयर की है. नाउ लेट्स नो मोर अबाउट इट. तो फ्रेंड्स, सेंटेंस रिव्यू बोर्ड में 6 मेंबर्स होते हैं एंड दे डिसाइड वेदर कन्विक्ट्स undergoing a life term can be released prematurely upon completing 14 years. The board is chaired by the minister in charge of prisons and includes Principal Secretary Home and Director General Prisons as members. And do you know, friends, Supreme Court in Lakshman Naskar versus Union of India case had ruled that if the government has framed any rule or made a scheme for the early release of convicts, then those rules or schemes will have to be treated as guidelines for the pardoning powers conferred on governor under Article 161 of the Constitution. And Delhi Prison Rules 2018 state that a prisoner undergoing life sentence will be eligible to be considered for premature release immediately after serving 14 years in jail. But for more serious and heinous crimes, the rules suggest premature release only after 20 years. Our next headline is related to sea cucumbers. And ये न्यूज में भी इसलिए है क्योंकि सी cucumber and raw turmeric recently seized by Custom Division and Indian Coast Guard. Now let's know more about sea cucumbers. So friends, they are only found in salt water and they are crucial to marine ecosystem as they consume decomposing organic matter and convert it into recyclable nutrients for other marine life. They are prohibited species as per Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. And do you know, friends, illegal transaction of turmeric and other commodities across international maritime boundary line is an offense under Custom Act 1962. Our next headline is related to Mysuru Dashera celebrations, which is recently concluded. Now let's know more about the festival. So friends, it is celebrated as 10-day festival in Mysuru, starting with 9 nights called Navratri and last day being Vijay Dashmi. Its celebration go back to many centuries and it is believed it was started during the time of Vijayanagar Empire, and now it is being organized by Karnataka state government in conjunction with the royal family of Mysore, and it is termed State Festival. Now recently it has been found that disaster events are becoming more frequent and severe, and their impact is also expected to worsen. And according to report by Food and Agriculture Organization, the frequency of extreme disaster events has risen significantly over the past 50 years, and 1970s saw approximately 100 disaster events per year, but in last 20 years the number went up to about 400 globally. Now let's talk about the impacts. So friends, as you know, agricultural activities and livelihoods rely heavily on environmental conditions, natural resources and ecosystems, and globally, agriculture sector faces growing threats from hazards such as flooding, water scarcity, drought and environmental degradation. Now recently, Prime Minister of India publicly declared India's intention to host the Olympic Games preferably in 2036. And do you know, friends, as of now, only 3 Asian countries have ever hosted the Olympics, and these are China, South Korea एंड जापान. एंड इनमें से जापान ने 2 बार होस्ट किया है गेम्स को, फर्स्ट इन 1964 एंड सेकंड इज इन 2020. एंड नाउ लेट्स नो how Olympic cities are selected. So friends, there is now a 2-stage process which is a continuous dialogue and a targeted dialogue without any fixed deadlines to assess, discuss and guide potential host. Our next headline is related to Criminal Procedure Identification Act, and ये न्यूज में भी इसलिए है क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट will roll out DNA and face matching systems at 1300 police stations across the country, and it will be implemented अंडर द क्रिमिनल प्रोसीजर आइडेंटिफिकेशन एक्ट, जिसको पास किया गया था लास्ट ईयर, एंड इट एनेबल्स पुलिस and central investigating agencies to collect, store, and analyze physical and biological samples, including retina and iris scan of arrested persons. Our next headline is related to Article 142 of the Constitution, and ये न्यूज में भी इसलिए है क्योंकि recently Supreme Court has used its extraordinary constitutional power under Article 142 of the Constitution to do complete justice for a 50-year-old man who fought for nearly 3 decades against the Postal Department's refusal to give him a job despite his name figuring high on the merit list. The court held that a public employer, which is a state within the meaning of Article 12 of the Constitution, would have no authority to throw a candidate out from the range of appointment without any reason. And do you know, friends, Article 142 of the Constitution provides a unique power to the Supreme Court to do complete justice between the parties where at times the law or statute may not provide a remedy. Now recently Food Safety and Standards Authority of India has recommended a use of quick response codes on food products for accessibility by persons with visual disabilities, and it is expected that this would ensure access to safe food for all, including those with special needs. And do you know, friends, Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, under its Food Safety and Standards Regulations 2020, has comprehensively outlined the information to be included on the labels of food products, and these are product name, shelf life, nutrition facts, vegetarian or non-vegetarian logos, ingredient list, allergen warnings, and other product specific labeling requirements. And do you know, friends, the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 recognizes the rights and needs of individuals with disabilities, which emphasize accessibility and promotion of health for persons with disabilities. Our next headline is related to bond yield, एंड ये न्यूज में भी इसलिए है क्योंकि द यील्ड ऑन 10-year गवर्नमेंट बॉन्ड्स इन द यूएस रोज टू हिट 5.02%, which is highest level since 2007. Now what is bond yield? So friends, it is the return an investor expects to receive each year over its term to maturity, and the rise indicates that cost of funds in financial system is rising and interest rates are on the upswing, and the rising bond yield means the government will have to pay more as yield, leading to rise in the cost of borrowings. This will have an overall impact on the financial system, putting upward pressure on general interest rates in the banking system. Our next headline is related to preventive detention, which means detention of a person by the state without trial and conviction by court but merely on suspicion. And in countries such as Britain, United States and Canada, it is a wartime measure, and in India, Constitution itself makes space for preventive detention, and Article 22 of the Constitution prescribes protection against arrest and detention, but it has major exception which says that none of the safeguards apply to any person who is arrested or detained under any law, providing for preventive detention, and remaining clauses deal with how preventive detention operationalizes. Our next headline is related to Future Investment Initiative, जिसका 7th edition सऊदी अरेबिया में हो रहा है. Future Investment Initiative एक ग्लोबल नॉन प्रॉफिट फाउंडेशन है जिसको लॉन्च किया गया था सऊदी अरेबिया के द्वारा. It aims to gather government and business leaders from around the world to discuss new pathways for investment, and इसके 4 फोकस एरियाज हैं: artificial intelligence and robotics, education, healthcare, and sustainability. And do you know, friends, Saudi Arabia is one of the India's most important strategic partners, and trade between both the countries reached all-time high, and cooperation between two countries can also be witnessed with the establishment of India-Saudi Arabia Strategic Partnership Council, जो establish हुई थी 2019 में, and India is the 4th country with which Saudi Arabia has formed such partnership after UK, France and China. Our next headline is related to exercise हरिमौ शक्ति 2023 जिसकी शुरुआत रिसेंटली हो चुकी है बिटवीन इंडिया एंड मलेशिया। इसका लास्ट एडिशन हुआ था मलेशिया में इन 2022 एंड इट इज एम्ड एट एनहांसिंग मिलिट्री कैपेबिलिटी फॉर कंडक्ट ऑफ मल्टी डोमेन ऑपरेशंस इन अ सब कन्वेंशनल सिनेरियो। आवर नेक्स्ट हेडलाइन इज रिलेटेड टू प्रधानमंत्री अनुसूचित जाति अभ्युदय योजना which is a merged scheme of three centrally sponsored scheme, namely Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana, Special Center Assistant to Scheduled Caste, Subplan, and Babu Jagjeevan Ram Chhatravas Yojana, and it has been implemented since 2021-2022 and it is aimed to reduce poverty of SC communities by generation of additional employment opportunities through skill development, income generating schemes and other initiatives, and it is also aimed to improve socio-economic development indicators by ensuring adequate infrastructure and requisite services in the SC dominated villages. Our next and last headline is related to Bharat National Cyber Security Exercise 2023, which aims to train senior management and technical personnel of government or critical sector organizations, public and private agencies on contemporary cyber threats and handling cyber incidents and response. It was conducted by National Security Council Secretariat in strategic partnership with Rashtriya Raksha University. So with this, let's conclude our today's discussion. Thanks for listening, and for regular updates, you can follow us on various social media platforms.